Happy Saturday afternoon, you guys. I hope you're doing well. It's a little brisk here in Georgia. Have my socks on. Don't do that too often. So it is a little cold. I was just going through some stories and I had heard about a mother who had brought a baby to a daycare deceased, which of course did a domino effect. And I ran into several other stories very similar to the first one that I'm going to share with you guys. So bear with me, and here we go. The first story is dated January 2023. In this first story, they did say that the woman has a history of mental illness. She had brought her son to this daycare center. At one point, he was vomiting. He was very sick. So she was told to take the boy to a doctor, see a doctor, and do not return back with this child until you see a doctor. And she wanted a doctor's note that this child was cleared and able to return back to the daycare center. So days later, the woman, she returns back with her baby to this unnamed daycare center. Now, she hasn't seen a doctor, but she told the providers that she'd given her son medicine and that he was currently asleep. So the providers, they let him inside the daycare center, again without a note. So later on, the administrator or manager, however you want to say it, had called to find out this child was actually back there and did not have the note. They basically told him, well, she came and she said that the child was sleeping because of the medicine. So they would go and check on the child, and he wasn't sleeping. He was actually dead and had been dead for quite some time. This unfortunate deceased baby would have an autopsy performed on him, and the child actually had passed away due to water on his brain that they deemed natural causes in an infant. They believe that the mother had panicked and was afraid that she would be blamed and brought her son to the daycare center. The mother was not arrested and the baby was not harmed by the mother. And that is pretty much the story of a woman brought her dead child to the daycare center. Now, the second story, this one is out of Wausau, Wisconsin. This happened October 18, 2018. Marissa Teetort was 28 years old. She was pregnant and already a mother of 5. She also was a nanny. Heather Gardner was utilizing her services at this time, leaving her 2-month-old son and his older brother in Teetort's care. Teetort had later texted the mother of the 2 children that she was currently watching. She told her that a website had just posted allegations that she had harmed children in the past. I don't know if Teetort had told Heather Gardner that she was also not allowed to be around children at this point, but the article stated that she told Heather, don't tell anyone that she was currently watching her sons. When the mother of the 2-month-old Benson and her older son arrived to pick her children up, Benson said that the child was already asleep, which would have been normal because it was late in the evening. He was already in a snowsuit and hat and met at the front door inside of his car seat. The mother had taken her son, still in the car seat, now to the laundromat. And then that's when she decides to check on him. The CCC footage in the laundromat would show a frantic woman. She was wondering what had happened to her baby. Benson was cold and stiff. He was in a sitting position. His lips were clenched and blue. The footage would show her calling 911 and the ambulance would arrive and paramedics trying to work on the baby. Benson had been deceased for a long time. Benson was in the care of Marissa Teetsort. Police would arrive to Teetsort's home. She was gone, along with her son, who was with her at the time, and a boyfriend. They were tracked through her cell phone at a nearby hotel where she claimed she was just there swimming with her boyfriend and son. Teetsort was now at the police department where she was being interviewed. During this interview, which is so bizarre, she laughed. She smirked at something that was so serious and tragic, amused. She told the police she had dressed the baby, though the baby was dead, put him back in his snowsuit, and put the hat over his head. She even went to McDonald's with this deceased baby in tow. And she stayed there for 15 to 20 minutes eating with her boyfriend and child. This is what this woman did. And I need to add, this woman does have a history of drug abuse as well. The autopsy reports would show that Benson had died of blunt force trauma to the head. His tailbone was broken and displaced. Benson had beat this child to death. Melissa Teetsort said during her trial that she wished that she would have told Heather that her son was dead instead of this woman finding out this way. About 30 minutes maybe later at the laundromat, having to see her child in that condition. She says she wished she would have told her before she left if she could go back to that day. How about going back to that day and never touching that child? Or how about going way, way, way back to that day and not even accepting this woman's child because you know that your intentions are bad, because you're already being investigated for the abuse of another child? How about that? But that's not what she said. She just said she wished she would have told her so that she didn't see her baby in that manner. Marissa Teetsort, now 31, was sentenced to 37 years in prison for the death of Benson and an additional 3 years for harming the baby girl that was in her custody. That's a total of 40 years. So if Teetsort, gets out of prison, hopefully she'll be way too old to watch anyone's children. At this point, she should be a grandmother. And if she is still alive and a free woman and has grandkids, hopefully they won't let her watch her grandchildren. For our final story, this happened in Cleveland, Ohio on June 18, 2019. Taylor Bush texted the daycare to inform the owner she'd be there around 2 p.m. to pick up her children, which included 3 sons and her 2-month-old daughter. The owner, Danielle Townsend, responded she wasn't there, but her sister was. Around this time, Taylor's daughter had been there several hours. Taylor knocked on the door of Nana's home daycare and was greeted by the sister holding her baby at the door. The sister told Taylor that Diane had been heavily breathing, that her bottles had been misplaced. Taylor was just happy to see her sleeping daughter. She took the baby from the provider's hands. She smiled over her baby, saying, "Hey, Mama's baby," until she realized that her daughter had not waken up, not moved at all. Taylor said her daughter was unresponsive, lifeless. She ran up the stairs and went back inside the daycare, frantic, and she performed CPR on her daughter. The daycare provider would call her sister, and I guess was explaining to her the current situation. Taylor insisted that she call 911. When paramedics arrived, Taylor and Diane got inside the ambulance, temporarily leaving her 3 sons at the daycare. Diane was pronounced dead at the local hospital. Taylor begged them to continue to work on her daughter. She could not accept the words that her 2-month-old daughter was gone. She had to return back to the daycare, feeling like whatever happened to her daughter, it might have happened at the daycare. But she had to pick her sons up and had to explain to them that their little sister was not coming home. She also felt that there was no remorse at the daycare. Now, Diane's mother and local news officials wanted to know what happened to this precious little girl that grabbed the headlines. How did she die? The Cleveland Police Department says that the baby died under suspicious circumstances and they were going to investigate her death fully. During this time, Nana's daycare was barred from looking after children. The owner of Nana's confirmed she wasn't there when Diane was picked up. She said the baby was alive when she arrived, and she later said Diane had been sick in the prior days to her death. She would never harm a child. She has children of her own. Now, into this investigation, inspections revealed at Nana's daycare there wasn't a first aid kit on site. Providers didn't have first aid or CPR certifications. There were unsanitary conditions. The bathroom emitted a foul odor, no toilet tissue or liquid soap inside the bathroom, according to the Ohio government inspection records. Along with allegations of the daycare listed, the play area outside had broken glass, poison ivy, visible mold. The sandbox was contaminated. The porch had a hole so large that a child could have fell right through it, and large groundhog holes in front of the yard that needed to be blocked off to prevent children from falling through them. And there were too many children there at once to be cared for. So, besides the child's death, the daycare would be shut down until further investigation was completed. Months later, the daycare remained closed. Taylor Bush was still grieving the loss of her child. I'm sure she dreamt of the future for her daughter. And now she was gone. The owner who lost a child at the daycare, she felt that she had no responsibility. And this was her livelihood. And she stood to lose the one thing that was bringing her an income. During this time, people blamed the mother. Why was she leaving an infant so young at a daycare? And knowing that the child was sick. A lot of people leave their children at a daycare. She had 3 sons and now a newborn. She had to take care of her family. And Taylor Bush, along with her lawyers, they said that the baby was absolutely healthy. So I guess she didn't think that her child was sick. People blame the daycare that was underqualified, caring for more children than approved, and not up to par with 22 code violations. But this was this woman's livelihood. And she said she would never intentionally harm anyone's child. And I assume she was also vouching for her sister and any other people in that facility that was helping to take care of these children. Diane would have an autopsy done to see the manner of death. According to the medical examiner, it had been determined to be natural causes, pneumonia. They listed the health issues that Diane had when she was born and her mother's minor health issues. This all may have possibly aided in Diane's death. I did look up 2023 Nana's Daycare. I believe it's still up and running under a slightly different name. I'm not sure if Taylor Bush believed it was natural causes or not, But I wish and I hope that she has come to terms with whatever happened to her daughter. And I do wish the best for her. I wish the best for everybody that I spoke about in this video. Thank you.